From apples to Appleseed, John lived on the frontier. Most of the land to the west of where John had been born was wild. Out here, everybody loved apple cider. That was the juice squeezed out of apples. And no wonder, besides water, there was hardly anything else to drink out of the wild frontier. So John went to one of the places where cider was made. It was called a cider mill. Horses pulled big stone wheels over the apples, and out came the juice. Then the workers threw the seeds away. Apple seeds are where apples come from. Plant an apple seed, wait a long while. What do you get? With sun and rain, you get an apple tree. Plant 100 seeds, and what do you get? 100 trees. So John collected hundreds of seeds. Now he could plant those apple trees. But where would he plant them? John thought a while. Of course, he would plant them in the wild. No one had settled there yet, but they would one day. Sure, there were dangers out there. There were venomous snakes and wild wolves, but that wouldn't stop the settlers. They were looking for new places to build houses and start a new life. They needed open places to plant fruit and vegetables and raise cows and horses. Apple trees were always a welcome sight. If he could find the right spots to plant his trees, people would come to those places, and the new nation would grow. So John went out looking. When he found a good place, he dug holes and placed an apple seed in each one. Then he pushed the dirt back into the hole with his bare foot. After a long day of planting many apple seeds, John slept beneath the moon and stars. The next day he walked on, looking for more good spots to plant his seeds. He planted them along rivers and streams. He planted them in places where people would like to live. He planted hundreds of seeds, thousands. Soon people stopped calling him John. Now they called him by his new name, Johnny Appleseed. A simple life. Later on, Johnny returned to see how his plants were doing. He made fences from brush and fallen logs to keep wild animals away. Soon the seeds grew into small trees called seedlings. By the time new settlers came along, they found apple trees right there waiting for them. The settlers paid money to Johnny for the land and trees. Then they built homes to stay in, and every new home helped the United States grow. Everyone agreed that Johnny was a clever man. This Johnny Appleseed knew right where new settlers wanted to live. And those apple trees were oh so pretty. No wonder people settled down to stay. People also liked Johnny for his energy. Was there ever a man who worked harder? He walked hundreds of miles to do all that planting. He was one of the first planters to bring apple trees to many states, including Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and Pennsylvania. Johnny owned lots of land and even made some money. And what did Johnny do with his money? Did he build a big house and sit back and relax? He did not. Johnny Appleseed's home was still the great outdoors. He still ate wild fruits and vegetables. He still built fires to cook his food and keep him warm. And he still slept out beneath the moon and stars. And why not? Nature kept giving Johnny all he needed to live his simple life. A meal of honey, fruit, berries, and cornmeal mush cooked in his tin pot was plenty. Sometimes he would eat a meal as the guest of a frontier family, but when they led him to a soft, warm bed, he would often say, well, no thanks. He would rather sleep under the moon and stars. Johnny Appleseed got cold sometimes. Most of his clothes were thin and tattered, but no one ever heard him say, poor me. Even when he did have good clothing, he would likely give it to someone who needed it more than he did. Johnny Appleseed believed that you should be thankful for whatever you had. A legend is born. The more people heard about Johnny Appleseed, the more they liked him. They heard stories that made Johnny sound like a hero. There was a time he freed a wild wolf from a trap in the woods. After that, the wolf was Johnny's friend forever. Now, wild animals are not very friendly with people, but the wild wolf in the story stayed at Johnny's side to protect him from danger. Could that really happen? Or does it sound too good to be true? Then there was the night when he planned to sleep in a hollow log. He looked inside, and a bear was sleeping with her cubs. So Johnny left them alone. He slept out on the snow. It was cold out there, but Johnny did not want to wake them up. And there was a time Johnny saw that sparks from his fire were killing mosquitoes. So Johnny put out the fire. Even the smallest of creatures should not be harmed, he said. These stories may not all be true, but they show what people thought of Johnny Appleseed. They heard that he was kind to animals. So in their stories, they made him super kind. So kind that a wild wolf would stay at his side. Maybe the story was too good to be true, but that was how people wanted to remember Johnny. They also knew that he was strong and full of energy. So they told stories that made him sound like a superman. In one story, he could chop wood twice as fast as any man. In another, he would walk for miles barefoot on frozen rivers. And once he jumped so high that it took him a whole day to come back down to earth. All kinds of people told stories about Johnny Appleseed that made him sound like a hero. And a lot of people believed them. Now, put all these stories together, and what do you get? Well, you get a legend. You get a man who is stronger, kinder, and smarter than any man who ever walked the earth. That was how people saw Johnny Appleseed, and that's how they wanted to remember him. The real Johnny Appleseed died in March of 1845 at the age of 71. But Johnny Appleseed's legend lives on.